Welcome back, guys. How are you guys? I hope you are all doing well. So today's my topic of discussion is about the second area of the parietal lobe, which is sensory association area. Okay, somatosensory association area. Guys, you must remember this area. This area is very cool. I have to draw and show you the area. Somatosensory Association Cortex. This is the central sulcus, and just posterior to the central sulcus there is primary somatosensory area, which I discussed in previous video. Now today I explain to you this area which is posterior to primary somatosensory area, which is somatosensory association area. Okay, so first I draw the other structures. This is cerebellum, this is spinal cord. Okay, so guys, you remember the pathways of the primary somatosensory area. What are the names of that pathway? Dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway, and the second one is spinothalamic tract. Okay, all of these pathways, its related axons travel towards the primary somatosensory cortex, which is this area. Okay, dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway enters in the spinal cord and move towards the cortex, and at the level of brainstem it cross to the opposite side and enter to the primary somatosensory cortex. Here is the relay center, which is thalamus. Okay, the second pathway also enters in the spinal cord and cross in the spinal cord to the opposite side and then moves towards the cortex and synapse in the thalamus and enters in primary somatosensory cortex. These pathways I discussed in previous video. Okay guys, you must know that video. Okay, now today's my topic is somatosensory association area, which is third area. Okay, what happens, these sensation from the this pathway and this pathway, pain, temperature, proprioception, and fine touch, crude touch sensation, all these sensation goes towards the cortex, primary somatosensory cortex. From the primary somatosensory cortex it moves towards the somatosensory association cortex. Okay, somatosensory association cortex. What the function of somatosensory association cortex is to visualize, like without open the eyes I have to sense the objects, its size, shape, its weight, like this type of sensation, like feeling type of sensation in closed eyes. Okay, later on in this lecture I explain all the tests related to this area and we have to perform in neurophysical exam. Okay, so these are the pathway of the primary somatosensory area towards the somatosensory association area. Okay guys, I give you one example. For example, this is a pen and I have to hold it and close my eyes. Okay, I have to I don't know what is the object because anyone hold in my hand. Okay, and I feel it, and like I for the feeling I have to identify it, like it is lightweight and its size is okay, it's I don't know the color because I cannot see the color. Okay, I see the endings of it, any type of modification at the end of the structure. Okay, and I later on I say without open the eyes, this is like a pen. Okay, this is the are the this information all controlled by somatosensory association cortex. Okay, so by these pathways. Okay, now I give you some explanation related to that pathway. Guys, one more thing is important. This somatosensory association cortex uh, sense the information in the close eye without see the object. Okay, and also compare with the past memory. Okay, this is the important, also compare with the past memory, and then it sends the impulse towards the motor speech area, which is what area, Broca's area, and then our mouth muscles and pharynx larynx muscle start to produce a sound, which I say you this is like a marker. Okay, like this type of pathway. So now we move towards the clinical relation to these pathways. Somatosensory Association Cortex. Now let's talk about the clinical importance of this pathway. When there is lesion to this pathway, what happens in the patient, what type of the clinical features appear in the patient. Okay, now talk about the lesion or damage to somatosensory association area. Okay, when there is damage to this area, now I have to write number one case, and it also this test is also performing neurophysical exam of the patient related to this area, sensory area. Okay, okay guys, so first test is the patient in front of you, and the patient's eye must close. Okay, and you give some object to the patient. Okay, in the first case we give some object to the patient, and the patient with the closed eyes can identify this object. Okay, if they identify the object, then it's normal. Okay, if they cannot identify the object in the close eye, in the hand, they cannot identify the object. Okay, what is this object in the close eye? So what are the clinical term related to it? This is asterognosis. Okay, this clinical feature is asterognosis. Okay, this clinical feature is asterognosis. Okay, what type of this feature? We have to test this area. Okay, we have to activate the sensory pathway, somatosensory association area. Okay, how I activate? From the first test, I have to close the patient's eye and then give any object to the patient's hand. Okay, if the patient identify that object, then it's good, its somatosensory association area is well and functional. But if there is damage to this area, the patient cannot identify the object. Okay, so if they cannot identify the object, then this test is asterognosis. Okay, this test is somatosensory association area, neurological sensory test, and what are the condition is asterognosis. Okay, this is the first condition. Now let's move towards the second condition. If there is lesion to somatosensory association cortex, let's move towards the second condition. What are the second condition? Okay, let's move toward the second lesion. Okay, in this test we have to write the any number in the patient's hand. Okay, in the patient's body, in the patient's hand, and the patient with the closed eyes recognize that number. Okay, for example, I close the patient's eye. For example, I am a patient and I am close my eyes, and the doctor write any number in my hand. Okay, and I have to recognize, okay, this is number 3. Okay, I have to recognize good. Okay, so it means somatosensory association area is functional. When I cannot recognize this number to the closed eyes, okay, and I can, for example, the doctor write 4 number and I say this is 3 number. Okay, though, so this is wrong. So what are the condition, what are the clinical name of this type of lesion in somatosensory association area is a graph. What are the name of the lesion? A graph, 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 aesthesia, aesthesia. Okay, agraphesthesia. Agraphesthesia is the lion when the patient cannot recognize the number. Okay, with the close eye I have to write the any number on the patient's body, on the patient's hand, and the patient cannot recognize that number. Okay, so what are the condition? Agraphesthesia. Agraphesthesia. So this is the second lion. Now let's move towards the third lion and third test, neurophysical examination, lions related to the lions of somatosensory association cortex. Okay, so now let's move towards the third test. Okay, what are the third test? Okay, in the third test, what the doctor perform? Doctor perform the with the close eye of the patient. The what are the position of the patient in the three-dimensional space in the environment? If the patient cannot recognize the position with the close eye, so what are the condition related to it? Okay, what are the name of the condition related to it? The condition is a statognosis. Okay, astatognosis. Okay, is the condition when the patient cannot identify its body position in the environment. Okay, so this is the third lion related to somatosensory association area. What are the name of this? Astatognosis. Patient cannot identify its position in the environment, in the three-dimensional space. Let's move towards the fourth test. Okay, what are the neurophysical examination fourth test related to somatosensory association area? Okay, number 4. Okay, so in this type of test, okay, in which the patient cannot differentiate the weight. Okay, the patient cannot differentiate the weight of the both hands. I have to give some objects to the patient in the both hand, and one object is light and one object is heavy. So patient cannot identify which one is heavy and which one is light. So what are the pathology, what are the name of this type of pathology related to the somatosensory association area? So I have to write the name of this pathology. A baro a baro gnosis. Okay, abarognosis. I have to perform in front of you this test. So I have some objects. For example, this is a color box and this is pen. Okay, let's think I am a patient. Okay, and the doctor perform me the test to check the somatosensory association area is functional or not. So the doctor performed the fourth test. Okay, related to the weight identification. Okay, so the doctor give me the weight and I have to identify, okay, this is the lightweight and this is the heavyweight. Okay, with the close eye. Okay, so this is good. The somatosensory association area is functional. Okay, when the doctor give me the object and I cannot identify which one is light, I think this is light and this is heavy. Oh, this is wrong. Okay, so it means there is a damage, there is a lion, there is any problem with somatosensory association area. Okay, so what the condition's name is? Abarognosis. Okay, when the patient cannot identify the exactly the weight of the objects. Okay, in with the close eye. Okay guys, so these are all about the somatosensory association area. Okay, its functional anatomy and functions, also its pathways, and also its lions, its damage related to clinical. Okay, clinical, what type of the condition names. Okay, all the 4 condition and all the 4 test. Guys, you must write the notes related to somatosensory association area lions, and also the basic pathways related to that. So guys, I hope you understand this video. Please like, share and subscribe and press the bell icon, okay, and receive any new video. Okay, every day I give you one video, and I have to you must watch that video. Okay, so guys, be happy, take care.